Rarely do you see an act that justifies the name associated with its entity. For example, a person named Garib Chand may be a billionaire. A newspaper named The Hindu may not speak for the Hindu community. Similarly, the Lords, which is often referred to as the Mecca of the cricket world, is not actually the Mecca. However, its officials are now hell-bent on turning it into the name associated with it. Hi and welcome to TFI English, the national socio-political analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Piyush, and in this video I will tell you how Lords is actually becoming the Mecca of cricket. Let's begin. As British society keeps getting Islamized, its other facets are fast adapting to changes. Lords, the first stadium in the world specially designed for playing cricket, is also one of them. The stadium is colloquially called the Mecca of cricket. Now its administrators have decided to literally convert it into one. On 26th of April, the famous Long Room of Lords reverberated with the sounds of Azan. While people outside may not understand why it is coming from a place designed to talk about cricket, the England and Wales Cricket Board knew what they were doing. ECB organized the first ever iftar party in the coveted Long Room of Lords. The idea of celebrating Ramzan was pitched to ECB by Tamina Hussain, who manages the IT help desk of the ECB. The event and gave her full autonomy to do it in whatever manner she and her community wanted. ECB's anxiety about catering to Islamists can be gauged from the fact that it sent in some of the best names of English cricket to attend the event. The World Cup winning captain Ian Morgan, English legend Graham Gooch, ECB CEO Tom Harrison, women cricketers Lydia Greenway and Tammy Beaumont validated Islamism in the event. Speaking about the event, ECB CEO Harrison said, "This evening's been all about connecting through people's love of cricket, but also about understanding and starting to develop a much deeper learning about each other's cultures." Meanwhile, the ECB got all the accolades from the section of the population it wanted. A Maulvi called Hassan Rasool, who was called to recite prayers in front of the heavyweights of English cricket, said that when Azan was being called, then everyone was in sync with humanity. Pakistani cricketer Shaheen Shah Afridi called ECB's attempt to induct religion in sports as an incredible step and thanked the board for coming forward for the Muslim community. Atif Nawaz, a BBC commentator, gave a shout out to Azim Rafiq for hosting the party. It is indeed Azim Rafiq who can be fully credited for giving birth to a controversy which resulted in this religious stunt by the ECB. The iftar party by ECB is speculated to be a part of their guilt trip for not acting on time when Azim Rafiq was allegedly facing racism at Yorkshire Cricket Club. Azim labelled 43 charges of anti-Muslim racism against his club, out of which 36 turned out to be false and 7 of them were upheld by investigating team. But the scandal left the cricket board bewildering and without having any valid reasons. Before the Lord's iftar party, Edgbaston also witnessed a party on similar lines by local cricketers, coaches and club staff. A cricket board hosting a party for a religious community to which most of its members do not even belong to is just the tip of the iceberg. Delving deep into the modern English culture will tell you that Islam is now a force to be reckoned with in England. Believe it or not, in terms of sheer numbers, Islam is now the second largest religion in England. According to a 2011 census, the total number of Muslims stood at 26,60,116. The rise of the Muslim population in the country has given birth to a totally different kind of problem unforeseen by liberal politicians advocating for Muslim immigrants. They peddled to their population that when Muslims would come to England and start living according to what they call liberal values, the community would be able to transform itself, leaving behind radicalism. To be fair to them, initially they proved to be right, as the first generation of Muslims whose livelihood opportunities were attached to following English culture did adapt to the local circumstances. But as they kept growing in numbers, they started to create a niche of their own. Islamists have started to establish their own colonies in which state interference is minimal to none. According to a report by The Economist, masjids are creating more radicalized youth by teaching what the magazine called literal interpretation of Quran. The report further mentions that books preaching about putting women in hijab, stoning homosexuals, and waging jihad are being sold in the open market. The situation in London, the place where the aforementioned cricket ground is located, is worse. While in all of England the percentage of Muslims is only 3.1, Muslims now comprise 12.4% of the total population in the capital of England. According to a 2016 study, London has more than 1,500 masjids. Now compare that to the ratio of Christian population and the number of churches in London. Despite Christianity being the main religion of 48.4% of the Londoners, there are barely more than 2,000 churches in the city. By 2030, the number of masjids in London is expected to overshoot the number of churches in the city. Muslims have also established themselves as an economic force in London. According to a 2013 report, 13,400 Muslim-owned businesses provide jobs to 70,000 Londoners. The numbers are only expected to rise in the wake of Sadiq Khan taking charge as Mayor of London. Islam, Quran and Sharia are now a reality in England because Muslims have also established themselves in the economic domain. It is next to impossible for the government to do away with their radical aspects. However, a concerted effort towards recognizing the radical threat can be taken by authorities. Loyalty is not a one-way street. If ECB or any other authority is loyal to every member of the community, then they should start talking about the threats as well.